Let me ask you a question. Say, as a director, you want to convey to your audience that a character is about to drink from a poisoned cup. How do you do this? Well, you could always do this.
What's that?
Antidote. To what? The poison you just drank, Uncle Jim.
But this is boring and honestly just kind of lazy filmmaking. So, what's the alternative? Well,
I never go near doctors. They always want to cart you off to a hospital.
this is a scene from the 1946 movie Notorious, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. A director talked about all the time for his ability to build suspense, but rarely is talked about for how he actually built it, which is what I plan to uncover in this video. A shot like this is common throughout his filmography, but what is it exactly? Well, in this case, a close-up. In this case, a two-shot. In this case, an insert. These are all tools you'll see directors use all the time, but larger picture, these are shots that create suspense through visuals entirely, not dialogue. Because Hitchcock is a director that began his career in the 20s, the silent era, he had to learn how to tell a story almost entirely visually and brought that over into his films that had audio. Many directors, especially working today, rely heavily on characters telling you what's going on to build suspense.
That's not his phone, sir.
Say again?
That's not his phone, sir.
What do you mean it's not his fault?
Hitchcock avoided this as much as he possibly could, such as this shot, a close-up, one of the most common tools a director uses. You'll see it all the time in films, but many directors use this technique to help make the dialogue more clear.
As your manager's probably reporting to you now, you have a little over 160 million in your vault tonight.
Nothing inherently wrong with this, but Hitchcock would oftentimes use it instead of dialogue. Me showing you this clip is giving you as much information as the film gives you. We're never explicitly told that this cup is poisoned until much later in the scene, but this simple close-up tells us everything we need to know without having to shove in an unnatural line of dialogue. Wait, sorry, I need to back up a bit. This is half of what makes his film's suspense work. Before I discuss these visuals further, we need to look at how Hitchcock structured his movies.
Sorry to bother you, Brandon. It's no bother at all. Come in.
And to do that, we first need to actually define what suspense is. Many probably have the idea that something such as this is suspenseful, when in reality, the intended emotion to feel here is intensity. Suspense would come in the form of the anxious buildup to that intensity. To put it in simple terms, suspense does not come in the form of what's happening, but rather in the form of what will happen. You see this sort of anxious buildup to something else all the time in films.
He's wired in.
Sorry?
He's wired in.
Is he?
Yes.
How about now? You still wired in?
Step out of the bathroom!
Hands on your head.
Oh, that's the new IBM Selectric.
Put your hands on your head.
These are great, but what Hitchcock would do is instead of using suspense as a means to an end, he would structure his films to drag it out as long as he could, with short and quick intensity or payoff. Now, this is the crucial step in understanding his structure. Pay attention to when the information for both scenes is given to us.
Tell me, when did you first feel sick?
He understood that if the audience is informed of more than the characters, then that created suspense. I think this is best explained by Hitchcock himself.
4 people are sitting around a table, talking about baseball, whatever you like. 5 minutes of it, very dull. Suddenly, a bomb goes off, blows the people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. Well, the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information that in 5 minutes' time, that bomb will go off.
You see how the scene is much more suspenseful when you know what's going on? A practical example of this would be, instead of having a murder mystery be, well, a mystery, Hitchcock would show us the murder to begin with. Most murder mysteries have the audience just sort of waiting around until the final reveal.
I dare say you've seen many films which have mysterious goings on. You don't know what's going, why the man is doing this, why that, and you're about a third of the way through the film before you realize what it's all about. And to me, that's completely wasted footage.
But when you show the audience the murder, they are active participants in the story as they anxiously wait as to if the murderer will be caught or not. One of the biggest misunderstandings of this idea, I believe, comes from the film A Perfect Murder, a remake of Hitchcock's Dial M for Murder. Take a look at this scene.
Who is this?
Did you catch the problem? There's no visual build-up. The only thing the audience gains from this scene is seconds of shock from a cheap jump scare. Now take Hitchcock's version.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
It's not the murder itself that's important to this scene. It's the build-up. The first example I showed you has no visual build-up, while this has a sort of build-up that has you screaming at the main character to just turn around. And again, this suspense is built through visuals. In this case, a 2-shot. Like the close-up I mentioned earlier, a 2-shot is a technique you see all the time in films. You'll often find it for conversations. These are great. Even Hitchcock used it for this purpose, but he was also much more creative with it.
Might I use your telephone?
He would oftentimes use it to inform the audience of more than what the characters know within the same frame. This is not only a quick and honestly pretty cool way to inform the audience of this, but it also allows the danger of the scene to feel much more present than, say, a standard back and forth. Remember, suspense is a build-up, not an action, and it comes from the audience knowing more than the characters do, and is best conveyed through visuals, not clunky lines of exposition.
Now the conversation about baseball becomes very vital, because they're saying to you, don't be ridiculous, stop talking about baseball, there's a bomb under there. You've got the audience working.